I watched the Backrooms movie and it was pretty disappointing. Now, I should say I'm not a Backrooms connoisseur. Of course, I'd heard of the concept prior to watching the movie because it's nearly impossible not to, with how popular of an internet meme it is and how popular liminal spaces are on TikTok. But I only had a superficial understanding of what it is, and I basically had no knowledge of the lore or the Kane Parsons YouTube series. So, when I went to the cinema on the day the movie was released, I was motivated simply by the fact that the director was a YouTuber, the trailer, and the desire to watch a good horror film. Now, to be clear, a part of that disappointment can be blamed on me, because as I've come to realize since watching this movie and talking to other movie watchers online, I'm just not scared by liminal spaces. Liminal spaces seem to inspire a sense of unease or fear or anxiety or claustrophobia in some people, but in me, no such thing. So already from the get-go, the movie loses me from first principles. I was never on edge for longer than a couple of seconds. I never felt uneasy or dreadful. However, I'll try to move past that and describe my feelings towards the other elements of the movie, because after all, I've also talked to people online who did not find the movie scary, but they still got immense enjoyment out of it. I'll start with a few positives. The set design, production design, and VFX were all great. They did a great job at making the Backrooms look like the Backrooms. The found footage sections were great, had great cinematography and framing, and were genuinely the most uneasy I ever felt throughout the movie. Too bad they were too sparse. Chiwetel Ejiofor and Renate Renizif do a fine job considering the script they were handed. However, that's also where my light praise of the movie stops and the massive problems begin. The screenplay is such uninspired drivel. At several points throughout the movie, the characters talk in ways that are unrealistic or overtly cartoony, such as...
It's like, imagine describing a dog to someone who's never seen one before and then asking them to draw it. They might get some things right, but there's no way to get everything right. The devil's in the details.
Where are we?
It's every place that ever was.
What is this?
It's a real mess. Am I right?
Clark. Let me help you. Before you do anything you can't take back.
Answer the question.
Yes, it's a real mess.
But also beautiful. In a way.
The plot is equally uninspired. The themes or the message of the movie is obvious from the first 5 minutes when Mary does her monologue about neural pathways. Basically, the Backrooms is an incomprehensible mess of interconnected labyrinthine rooms, the physicality of which is shaped around the psyche of the individual traveling it. The Backrooms also birth monsters out of the elements of the psyche of the unlucky humans that enter it. Clark's whining, his inability to take accountability of his own situation, his learned helplessness, and his deep-rooted subconscious belief that he cannot change his behavior morph into a 10-feet tall pirate monster who is ultimately the end of Clark. His perception of his wife morphs into a caricature of her as well. The visually impressive shot of the camera going through the ground of Mary's childhood room over and over again where her mentally ill mother kept her isolated, each subsequent iteration of the room showing a more crude, less detailed floor plan, is an obvious metaphor about repression of memories of traumatic events or the hazening of them. The bit at the end where they talk about the banality of exploring the Backrooms is a metaphor for the untenability of trying to holistically understand and quote-unquote map out the human psyche. Humans are too complex and multifaceted for that. The monster of Mary that appears in the final shot is an indication that even though Mary was able to continue going in different pathways until she found the neural pathway that would help her get out of the Backrooms and get over her past trauma, a part of her psyche still and will forever linger there, in the Backrooms in her past trauma. The problem with all that is that it isn't interesting. It's boringly presented and portrayed, it's over blunt. As I said, you could very much guess that the Backrooms will be a metaphor for the psyche just from the opening monologue, yet the movie treats it like a big twist when it's revealed through the characters' interaction. The movie thinks it's smarter and more meaningful than it actually is, or, to put it another way, it insists upon itself. The cinematography for the non-found footage sections is bland, just wide shot after wide shot. Now I understand that might be part of the appeal of a liminal space. The bland cinematography makes it seem both surreal and grounded in reality at the same time. Even the cinematography outside the Backrooms is boring. It mostly consisted of shot reverse shot for dialogue scenes. I did like a couple of non-backroom shots though. For example, a couple of the establishing shots looked nice. The shot of Mary standing at the entrance outside the back rooms and her shadow abruptly appearing looked cool, and the extreme Dutch angle of the guy in the parking lot with the shopping cart made for some variety, but to me it was unclear whether it had any sort of motivation behind it, beside just variety. The soundtrack was lackluster and forgettable. I couldn't for the life of me hum you any part of the melody of any track. The movie generally slogs on, and I found myself checking my watch a couple of times, which is crazy considering the whole thing's like an hour and 35 minutes. This is a boring, bland, uninspired review for a boring, bland, uninspired movie. 5 out of 10.